Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We are so excited and lucky because today, not only will we be learning a little bit more about LifeWave's compensation plan, but we get to hear from one of our best, one of our very top leaders in the company, someone who's been with us from the very beginning. And honestly, there are very few that can really talk about the compensation plan in a way that's really easy to understand, that has so much experience, not only in this business, in this industry, but training. So our guest speaker today is Chuck Michel. And I can't even say enough about Chuck and even share with you even half of his accolades and accomplishments. Needless to say, Chuck has been one of the most loyal and wonderful members of LifeWave for so long and has showed such beautiful leadership within his team as he's continued to grow his business and help many others to achieve so many great things here at LifeWave. He has a great background when it comes to training and has done some incredible training for some of the largest companies in the United States, as well as just incredible experience within this network marketing sphere. Chuck is someone that I truly really respect, honor, and love working with. And I'm just so thrilled that today you get to hear from him how he shares the compensation plan with people on his team. And you'll hear how easy it is when you hear Chuck talk a little bit about it. Chuck, are you here with us?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Well, what a cool background you have there. I love that. What car do you have there?
Well, I have a barn full.
Ooh.
This is my car barn. I've got Porsches and Ferraris, and I don't know if you can see them all, but
oh my gosh, Chuck.
There's the Ferrari, there's the classic Oldsmobile. Yeah, I work out of my garage.
Oh my gosh, what a fun environment. And thanks for showing us that. You know, that's one of the cool things about this industry, right? Is you can make pretty amazing things happen when you work really hard and you're consistent, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you, Chuck. Everyone's sick of hearing me talk about the comp plan. So I appreciate you coming on today and sharing your knowledge and understanding with our members and our larger LifeWave family. But before I do that, I forgot to remind everyone, if you're looking for the translation button, there's the little globe right there on the bottom of your screen. You can select that. And for those languages that we support within Europe, they'll be listed there, but we will be presenting in English. Well, Chuck, I'm handing it over to you. Thanks again, my friend.
Thank you. And thank you. Welcome all of the life waivers on the line. I guess we're worldwide, which is pretty cool with Zoom and all the technology. And as a disclaimer, when I started with LifeWave 15 years ago, we were technology light. So it was coffee shops and living rooms, and occasionally we'd have a big church conference room. But certainly technology has given everyone a real advantage to get not only wherever you want to be instantly without all the wear and tear, but internationally as well. So we're glad we're here, and I'm going to try to share with you with some technology, because the way I built my business, and I think it's a good idea, is my greatest sales tool is a yellow pad and a pen or a magic marker. Because I think that if you can show people visually, you're in a way teaching them so that they really understand. Sometimes it's awfully hard to explain numbers and diagrams without actually having your prospect or whomever you're sharing it with truly understand it. Now, also what we used to do is we would have coffee shop meetings, usually on a Saturday morning, 7 o'clock. And the serious people were always there. And that was like a scrimmage. You know, great sports teams, they practice amongst themselves. Some put on red jerseys, the other put on white jerseys, and they become two different teams and they scrimmage. Now, they're not out there to beat or hurt each other, but they're there to train, and they train with one another. And I think that's a very good management training technique for you and your teams. We would get together, and sometimes someone would bring a guest. That was great. And we'd meet at a coffee shop and have a cup of coffee or breakfast early. And then we would role play with one another. I'd say, hey, Roy, show me the comp plan. Now, when you're just getting started It's like, oh, gee, well, let's do it. And so I would have one of my new recruits draw it out on the yellow pad, and it'd be lousy. I'd say, well, it's close. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And by the time they did it 3 or 4 times, they were bulletproof. And it gave them a sense of confidence in front of me rather than being embarrassed with their brother-in-law, and sometimes avoiding showing someone because they don't really understand themselves. So I would encourage you to do trainings that way. Get together with your team and do scrimmages. And just you got to be honest. You got to say, okay, Mary, what do you say if someone says, how do the patches work? Now, if you're going blah, 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 that's not good. But if they don't know, you say, well, let me give you the script that I used, and then you can share it, and then you have them repeat that back to you. So it's training, 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 but you're scrimmaging with one another. So when they eventually get against metaphorically the other team or a prospect, they're good. They understand it. They're not embarrassed, and they're willing to reach out a little bit. So I encourage you to do some of that, and you can do it on Zoom. But I find that a lot of leaders, they just want to pitch and train and talk. Well, that's okay, but you got to get an interchange with your new people. Have them try it. And you know they won't know how. Don't embarrass them. Say, hey, that's cool. Don't worry about it. Go as far as you can, and then I'll fill in the blanks, and then we'll do it again. And then we'll do it again. And by the time they do it 3 or 4 times, they say, oh, I get it. Now, that's important for you as a leader, because now you've got a team of 4 or 5 or 6 that really know how to grow and leverage your efforts out with qualified leaders that you've grown through these kinds of trainings and scrimmages. So I encourage that. Now, what I use a lot is a yellow pad, as I say. So what I'm going to do is I've drawn some of the ideas on a yellow pad. I'll show you on Zoom, but then I'm going to sketch a few so you can see how it goes. Okay, now the other philosophy that I subscribe to, and I think it works, is I tried to make our LifeWave comp plan distribution channel very familiar with everyday stuff, because, you know, networking comp plans are very unique. Our distribution channel is very different than, you know, a retailer or a direct salesperson who goes out and sells a can of soap. They get paid and they move on. So what I like to do is when I'm showing the comp plan is I like to give them the nuances in something that they would understand. So let me give you an example. You might start saying, now, Phil, the way you get paid, okay, I move away from comp plan because that's inside baseball. You know, let me show you how you're going to get paid. Now, everybody understands that, but they're not quite sure what do you mean by a comp plan, all right? So I said, well, let me show you how you get paid. Now, what LifeWave is going to have you do is develop teams. And your teams, it would almost be analogous to you being given Starbucks for the entire United States. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to divide the United States in half. So we're down the Mississippi River, you're going to have a dividing line, and everybody west, as you're looking at the United States, everybody on the left of that line is your West Coast retail outlets. And let's say there's Starbucks, or they could be McDonald's, and you've got 30 of them over there on the west side, left side. And as you look at your diagram over there on the right side is your right team or your East Coast team. And so I sketch it so it looks like this, okay? Now, I'm not an artist, but that's the United States, believe it or not. But you'll notice what I did is I split it, and then I show the various little retail locations. I got the East, which is on the right side, and the West, which is on the left side. Now, I guess it's showing up backwards maybe, but anyway. So that's what I sketch, because when you think about it, that's really what's happening with LifeWave. You've got 2 teams, but if you start talking about teams on the left, teams on the right, it's falling away from what I would consider a common distribution system, which is you having all of these retail outlets over here, and every time they sell a cup of coffee, you get paid. Over here, all these different little outlets, which are your reps, when they make a sale, you get paid. So that's the way I like to describe our, what we call our legs, because legs, again, that's inside baseball. It's hard for people to understand. But if you describe it in with some commonality against other distribution systems, in this case, I picked retail because you do actually have physical locations. And if you think about it, we have physical reps. Now, you may have a physical rep in Japan, and you could call that your Japan Starbucks, but every time there's a sale, cha-ching, you get paid. So that's the way that I like to describe it. Then what I'll do is I'll draw another picture, and I'll say, now let's go back to the map, but I'm going to show you the way the legs work. But just imagine the United States is the overlay, East Coast, West Coast, but all of these circles are actual reps. You've got Bill, Mary, Sue, and Phil. But here's what's so cool. And see, what I'm trying to do is to train and also show people the brilliance of our distribution channel. Because here's what happens. They call networking one of the greatest leverage plays ever, and it truly is. And I'm blessed that I'm a prime example of that. I mean, my legs have grown, oh Lord, from Korea to Taiwan to Australia to Indonesia. I mean, I don't even speak the language. But guess what? When there's a sale, cha-ching, I get paid. Now, I'm not complaining, but we have to make sure a prospect understands that, because what leverage creates is a lot more effort beyond you. You know, J. Paul Getty said, I'd rather have 10% of 100 workers than 100% of them all, or than 100% of my own. Why? Because if I get sick, I'm 100% out of cash flow. But if one of my reps gets sick, I've only lost 10% of my cash flow. So leverage, and that's exactly what a chain of Starbucks is. If you have 50 Starbucks and one isn't doing the revenue you expected, well, it's only 1/50th of your total enterprise. So what I'm showing, and in my drawing, is the East Coast and the West Coast with the dividing line. Now, the darkened circles are your reps. These are folks that you actually introduced. Again, I stay away from the word recruiting because that's inside baseball. These are various friends, relatives, whomever that you've introduced to LifeWave, and they pay attention. They say, hey, I like the X39. Yeah, I'd like to buy it. And if I can get it for free by building a little group, I'll do it. Okay, great. So all of your reps, in this case, I've darkened the circle. Now, the undarkened circle are their reps. So that's where leverage comes in. And that's what I explained to someone. So if someone, you'll notice way down there on the right leg, opens up Japan, you did not introduce that person. Doesn't matter. All their volume and cash flow accrues to you on a percentage, and everything that they do throughout Japan. Now, you don't have to fly there. You don't have to speak Japanese, but it's the pure beauty of leverage. So as your groups grow left and right, you're going to get paid. Now, how do you get paid? Well, you get paid basically some bonus structures, but basically three different ways. And in the introduction, which is what I want to do today, I'm not going to drill down on the real tight specifics and requirements, because we're trying to give a new prospect a general overview of how they get paid, and most importantly, brilliance of how the distribution channel works and leverages out all over the world. Doesn't matter. You don't have to speak the language. You get paid. So having said that, I'm going to stress now the first way that you would get paid is on retail. Now, retail is not really a set margin. It can be 100% markup, a 200% markup. I have a dentist who puts a ice wave patch on the right cheek and the left cheek after a dental procedure, and he writes $15 into the bill. Well, $15 for two patches, I haven't done the math, but that's a pretty aggressive markup. But, for a dental procedure, it's not that out of whack. So he charges $15 for two patches, or a white and a tan. So on the retail side, we have a suggested retail, but if you're a practitioner or chiropractor, I'd mark it up at least 100%, because you're the one that's putting it on. You're the one that's explaining how it works. So don't hesitate. So that's income number one, is retail. And that's not going to be your huge income source unless that's all you want to do. The big money will come through leverage, right? Because you're going to have 100 people selling patches and you get an override of all of that. So I'm going to talk about that next. And that's what we call cycle pay. Now, cycle pay is a little bit of inside baseball, but I do give it a name. It's called cycle pay. But let me show you how it works. Then I draw this diagram. Now, you're probably going to get a headache, so I'm going to keep it somewhat in context. And let me talk about it first, and then I'll show you. What I tell folks, again, to keep it in common, ordinary language, is that you're going to get 15% commission of all of the volume on your lesser group. So if the lesser group is the West Coast, whatever that total volume is for the week, you're going to get 15%. If the East Coast is the heavy volume, then you're going to get, or I'm sorry, is the lesser volume, then you're going to get 15% of all of the volume on the left. And what the computer does on Sunday night, it looks at both sides, the East Coast and the West Coast. It looks at both sides, and then it says, okay, I see that on the left coast, you had 10,000 in volume. And on the West Coast or East Coast, you had 20,000 in volume. So I sketch it, and as you can see my drawing, what I've showed is the East and the West, the left and the right, 10,000 on one side and 20,000 volume on the other side. Then what I say is, because I don't want them to panic, I said, now you're going to get paid in the heavier leg, but that's income number two. Number three. We're just talking about income number two. Number one is retail. Number two is cycle pay, which is 15% of the lesser leg. Now, how do I come up with that number? Well, every time you cycle, you have 330 on one side, which is the lesser leg. You got 660 on the other leg, which is the stronger leg. And if you take 15% of 330, that's $50. So rather than trying to explain 330, $990, $50, again, it's a little too technical inside baseball for a brand new person. But they do understand that salespeople get a percentage of the deal. If you're a real estate agent, you make 5%, split it with a house, they get 2.5%, and you get 2.5%. Maybe you've have other sales businesses where you get 10%. So percentages are commonplace. So I want to reduce it down so that we're talking a language that's general. Because remember, again, most of your prospects are not real savvy networking. Some are, and that's great. And they'll pick it up in a minute when you talk about binaries, left leg, right leg. But I'm going to say that's going to be less than 5% of your audience. So let's keep it for everybody. So going back, what I say is now you're going to have volume on your left side and your right side. And the sketch that I draw on my yellow pad is I show them, okay, you've got 10,000 and 20,000. So the computer looks at that and says, whoa, that's a perfect deal. You got 10,000. So if you have twice that volume, and here's the other part of the pay plan, if you have twice that volume, or 20,000, then you're going to get paid on the entire 10,000. So 15%. For the week, you make $1,500. Now that might be your car payment. That's not bad. So again, all the volume Sunday night is added up, left side, right side. You take that number and then you look at it and find out what is the lesser leg. In this case, it was the 10,000. So you made 15%. Now, if you were to do this in cycle pay, if you divide each by 330, 660, multiply by 50, you'll hit 15% within 3 percentage points. So I like to keep it, as they say, for the general public. So I say you're going to make 15% of the lesser leg. Now, don't panic, because I'm going to show you in income number three how you get paid in the strong leg. And that's a lot of money. So then I say, so this is the end of week one, 10, 20, got 15% of $1,500. So now you go into week two. Now in week two, you had 40,000 and you had 20,000. No, I'm sorry. What I've done is I'm showing you carryover. So stay with me here. Let me read my numbers. Yeah. So you've got 20,000 and you've got 50,000. So I show the lesser leg with 20,000 and I show the stronger leg at 50,000. So the computer's going to look at this and it's going to say, okay, we're going to pay you 15% of 20,000 if you've got twice as much on the other side. You say, whoa, not only do I have twice as much on the other side with 40, I've got an extra 10. So the computer's going to pay you 15% of the lesser leg because you've got twice the volume on the other side. So you're going to make $3,000 in commissions, but you only needed 40,000. Now that's important. But if you take a look, your volume was actually 50. You only needed 40 to be twice as big as 20. So you had an extra 10,000 that carries down Monday morning to the next week. Pretty cool. You haven't done a thing Monday morning, but you've already got 10,000 in volume sitting there. So let's say that through the week, you did, and let me just check my numbers, you did a total of another 50,000 and you add to the 10, which was carryover. So you had 60,000 in that third week on the heavy strong leg, and you had 30,000 on the weak leg. Well, the computer's going to say, do you have twice as much on the strong leg as the weak leg? And here, yes, I do, Mr. Computer. It's all there because I was able to use my 10,000 from the week before. So not bad. You're going to get 15% of the full 30,000 or $4,500 for the week. Okay. Now, what I would do and what we used to do in our coffee shop meetings is we would practice with each other. In fact, Roy Sergiano, who's just, the guy is smart, he would do it upside down. He would draw all of his numbers up and they were beautiful. You'd look at them. So he was always sitting across the coffee shop table and he would be able to do all these numbers up. I'd say, Roy, how do you do that? And I don't know. My mind works that way. I'm kind of upside down. So long story short, he was very, very good. He didn't have to do that, but I would. When you get a new recruit that wants to make money, they want to build a business, and if you ask them, they tell you, just say, hey, Susie, what's your objective with LifeWave? Do you want to make a car payment? Do you want to make a house payment? Do you want to retire? What's your objective? And let them tell you. And if they only want to poke at it, do a little retail, well, they're not quite what I would call your warriors. But if you find someone, you know what? I'm sick of my job. I've got some time. I got a little money. Yeah, I would really like to make life work. Folks, you've got to be fair and sit down in the coffee shop. Even if you don't know it perfectly, learn with them. Sketch these things out. Put crazy numbers left and right. See what the carryover would be. How does that carryover move forward? What is the 15% of the money you're left with? Again, practice. But do it with your people so they're not embarrassed. That's the main thing. And that's something you can do very, very easily. Okay. And then the other thing that I want to stress, because again, as I said before, this is the big money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain it and then I'm going to sketch it. So let me get my other drawing here. Okay, so there are two terms you really want to be familiar with, and that is because as your reps, as you know, as they grow, they go right straight down the leg. They don't move lineal with you. You do not have 10 people attached to your center. You only have 2, and they're there forever, those 2, but it doesn't matter because nobody has an advantage of being higher than another. Okay, in other words, your income does not diminish as you go deep. It's another very important concept. And let me show you this concept again. Okay, you're going to get paid from Susie, who you recruited here, 15% of the volume. That's all going to be coming in through them. In addition to that, because they're first generation to you. Now, I'm going to explain that there's two terms that people can get confused with. One is levels, and levels is just that. First level, second level, third level, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, okay? In LifeWave, levels do not matter. There are no levels, okay? What we deal with are generations. That's a very, very important distinction, and I'll show you why. Because if you're dealing with levels, as you go deep, 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 deep into your comp plan, with any other typical network, which has a unilevel plan, your income peters out. In fact, it disappears after so many levels. We don't. You get paid no matter where your generations are. So I'm showing you, as I said before, that the filled in dots are folks that you've introduced to LifeWave. But you'll notice they're down. I hate to use the word level because it doesn't apply, but just so that you can see the difference, you'll notice over here that rep is actually 3 levels down, but it's first generation to you. It's one of your children because you recruited Bill and Mary was already here. So you had to put Bill down the computer wheel, the next open spot, which was here. But it doesn't matter because Bill is first generation to you. So whatever Bill earns, and this is the third income stream, whatever Bill earns, you make a 25% bonus on his income. You don't get any of his money, but if he makes $10,000, you make $2,500 in a match of first generation, wherever they are. So if this is a first generation, if this is a first generation way down here, in fact, I'll put that in so you can see the brilliance. Okay, so here in Japan, way down here, you happen to introduce someone, even though they're in Texas, but they fall under the Japanese leg because that was the next open spot. But regardless of the fact that it's 8 or 10 levels down, it's first generation, 25%. So that's very, very important to understand. So in summary, everybody who you introduce personally, and you are their recognized sponsor within the computer, whatever they earn in their cycle pay, you make a 25% bonus. Now, we know that Mary up here, she brought in her mom and dad, okay? Now, they are Mary's children or your grandchildren or your second generation. Okay, so just visualize this as generation, just like a family. So you gave birth to Mary, first generation. Okay, Mary had a couple of kids, so that's your second generation. Now, whatever they earn, you make 20%. Talk about leverage, folks, because look at Mary has introduced 1, 2, 3. You get 20% of 3 people, that's 60%, and yet you didn't even know these people. They were Mary's pals. Again, leverage is brilliant. Now, as you move down, you can see how important that is because here you recruited Jack, who's recruited all of these people direct, we'll say. These are all his directs. Well, that's all your second generation. Now, let's say that one of the grandchildren, we'll sketch that. So here, you had your children, first generation, 20% and 25% in match. Their children, your second generation, 20% in match. Then if these folks recruit someone, in this case they did, oh, actually I'm on the wrong side, sorry. So first generation, 25, second generation, 20, and then your second generation, Bill, brought in his neighbor, Fred. That's third generation to you, right? First, second, third. Well, another 20%. Pretty cool. So what happens again, is you get a tremendous play on leverage because you're able to enjoy the income stream from all of the reps within your organization beyond just those you personally introduced or personally sponsored. You then get a 20% on their children and a 20% on the children's children. So if I go back now to this income of you, okay, and let's say that I'm your sponsor, I'm going to love you to death because when you made over here, you made $1,500. Well, all of a sudden, I'm going to get a 25% check on your earnings. Then, when you earn $3,000, I'm going to get a 25% bonus check on your $3,000. And when you earn $4,500, I'm going to get a 25% bonus check on your $4,500 in cycle pay. And that's just you. But if you look at your drawing, look at the number of people in your third and fourth generation, just because of the volume, you're going to have those kinds of revenue streams. So the pay plan, I think you're really going to do yourself a terrific favor and learn the business so much quicker if you learn to use a yellow pad. Sit down with one of your folks that would love to learn with you. Say, you know, I'm like you, I'm kind of new, I don't get it. Let's go through it on a yellow pad together and make sure that we understand it. And more importantly, we understand the point that we can teach it, because you got to go to the next step to where you have the confidence level and you can just let it flow and you can show other folks how it works. Now, if you and your friend are stumbling, then call your sponsor. And if your sponsor's stumbling, then call his sponsor, because trust me, there are people upline that are totally dedicated to you getting it and understanding it, and they're going to help you. In fact, they'll even do what I do. They'll show you on a yellow pad, which I'm convinced is really the best way to learn. So in summary, work with your team, get on the yellow pad together and learn, sketch it so you really do understand. And you'll know when your people get it. They may even be better than you. Roy was certainly better than me, but that's what you pray for, is that you have reps that are a whole lot stronger than you are. It's like I've had people say when I first started, like 15 years ago, they say, "Oh, Chuck, I couldn't do the business. I'm not a chiropractor." So you know what? You don't have to be. You're the quarterback. But guess what? You've got a guy that can kick field goals. You've got a guy that can punt. You've got folks that can catch your passes. You don't have to do it. You don't have to punt, kick, and catch passes. You're just going to throw the ball. And so you don't have to be the chiropractor, because your team will attract chiropractors. It will attract doctors. It'll attract great marketers. I mean, when you think about what's happened in my group just with linguistics, I mean, I'll bet you within my team, we speak 20 different languages. Now, they don't come to me for coaching because I can barely speak English. But it's a testament to how powerful leverage is. You leverage income, you leverage skill sets, you leverage intelligence. You know, like Roy, he has a master's in engineering, electrical engineering, right? Which, trust me, I don't. But that's okay. He's a lot smarter than I, and I just cheer him on. So that's really, again, the leverage play that networking creates. And I think that if you kind of follow some of the verbiage I'm using, some of the techniques I've used, people will catch on. Because sometimes it's one of those multi-level deals. Yes, it is. And let me show you why it's great, right? Now, there are the scams out there. Unfortunately, they're being shut down. But when you're with a great company that's doing it right, you know, with a 15, 16-year track record, with a fabulous comp plan, it doesn't get any better for long-term leverage / retirement income. So do we want to open it up to questions, Emily, or what do you think?
Yeah, it looks like we do have a few questions. If you have a little bit more time, Chuck, I'd love it if we could go over those. Would that be all right?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to read these questions to you, and then if you can answer, that'd be great. So the first question we have is from Richard, and he said, so is there a minimum you need to have? And I think that was relating to when you were talking about how cycling works.
You do. And I should have put that in. A minimum is 660 on one side and 330 on the other. But remember, it's cumulative. So you can chip away, as you're just getting started, maybe 100 goes to 200, goes to 600, goes to 800. But obviously getting started, you've got to hit those minimums, but they do build on one another. And if you have more than you needed, it rolls down to the next week.
Perfect. Thanks. Okay, we have a question from Helen. She says, why is the dark circle on the west 3 drops down considered first generation? Because under U on the west, it has a first tag.
Well, remember, and let me sketch it because there are two distinct comp plans. Okay, let me just sketch it real quick. Okay, you have 2 plans of networking. One's called a unilevel. So if you sponsor personally Fred, Mary, Sue, Judy, and Alan personally, they go straight to you. It's unlimited how many you can have on your first generation. Okay, they go linearly. It'd be like someone with a real estate office, and they've got all of these salespeople. It's a direct link to you, the broker. That's a unilevel. We don't do that. The reason we don't is because if you have a unilevel, it has to cut off because you cannot pay to infinity because there wouldn't be enough money, okay? So what happens is when it gets usually 6 levels deep, it cuts off. You make nothing as it goes. So unilevels are awkward. And I'm not saying, and I'm loving an example of why binaries are so terrific. So remember, unilevel, meaning unlimited number at the top, but a definite cutoff. We're a binary. Now, remember I said you've got 2 sides. You've got the West Coast and the East Coast, or the left and the right. If I sponsor all of these people, they cannot go to me direct in the configuration. They are direct to me, but not in the configuration. So I've got to move them down. So this third would have to go either on this side, right? Because I can only have 2 attached to me, or this side. I can choose where I want them. But remember, it doesn't matter because levels don't matter. They're still first generation as if they were here, but they have to go down. So consequently, when I did that drawing, you can see my top 2 spots were gone, right? Boom, Fred and Sue. So then I recruited Judy. But in the meantime, Fred had brought in his mother, and I didn't know it, but that's okay, because when I put the second direct sponsor, third, I have 1, 2, 3, it's going to go to the next open spot on the side I choose. And I chose the left side as you look at it. So that's where they're going to, but doesn't matter. And I really want to stress that because levels, remember, they're not a part of it. It's all generation. That's one of my children, or first generation, which is 25%. Now the same thing over here. I sponsored Jack, and Jack brought in 1, 2, 3. So when I brought in Alan, the next open spot was down here. Doesn't matter because it's still first generation. Now, the reason there is no cutoff, and folks, I can't tell you how important that is because the bulk of my income, I think I have 300,000 reps. I'm not bragging because it's grown, but the bulk of it is 2,000 levels down. It's huge, like Malaysia, Indonesia, Ireland, Poland. it's way, way down here, but it's first and second generation to me. Because no matter where this goes, that's all my volume. Remember I said all of the volume on the left leg, all of the volume on the right leg? I never mentioned cutoff because it goes literally to infinity. And someone said, oh, well, that's hyperbole. How can it go to infinity? I said, well, watch. It does. It doesn't matter where it goes. Now, the way the computer keeps the company from going broke is that you have to balance. So I may have a leg that goes to, Timbuktu with 3 million points, but if I don't have volume here, I don't get paid. So then you say, oh my God, I got 3 million points. I got to go to work because everything I do over here is a payday. Okay. So that's the way that works. And I think what you really want to do is think that through, the difference between levels, because it does not apply in LifeWave. It's all generational, just like children.
Awesome. Okay, it looks like we have time for maybe just a couple more questions. This is from Karen. Do you earn anything that your upline beyond your personal sponsor places below you?
Yes, absolutely. Remember, and that's a great question. Let me sketch that. I'm kind of a visual person.
Me too.
Okay, here's your sponsor. Here's your sponsor, who's above you. And here's you. Now, your sponsor brought in someone over here. Now, that, if you'll notice, is not associated with your empire at all. Okay, they're just all part of your sponsor's work. They do not, if you'll notice, they don't come in contact with your organization. That's his organization, but you have to be the top or within his organization. Now, he's pretty active, so he recruited this gal over here. Then he wanted to put someone over here, but you're there, so guess what? They gotta go down below you. Now, they're not a generation to you. They're his first generation, but all of their volume goes to you, you see? So as he's building down either leg, as he's building, the volume accrues in your legs. Nothing from here, because that's not part of your group. But everything that he is, if he's sponsored down here, it's all within your left or your right volume organization. So yeah, that's the way it grows from up above.
Awesome. So there's a question here that I think I can answer. Where can we find the recordings is a question that someone asked. All the recordings from today and the other comp plan trainings we've done will be listed on our YouTube channel within a week following this training. So look for that there. So
yeah, and I think the LifeWave training will be, no offense, but it'll be a little bit more specific. You'll notice that mine's more of a conversation. I try to blend it with what people are already familiar with. I'm sure the LifeWave Comp tutorial is going to talk about 360, 330, $50 cycle pay, and that's fine. But my tendency is to try to get it down into everyday language.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we really appreciate sharing that.
The one thing that I think is important, and even though it's a little off script, a little on script, but I just want to emphasize it again because it's helped me really, really build my business. And that is what I call, opening conversations. How do I start the LifeWave conversation, right? If you haven't struggled with that, congratulations, because I did. Everybody does. They're new to LifeWave and they're at a birthday party and someone's maybe saying, oh man, I was playing golf and I kind of pulled my shoulder. And you say to yourself, oh man, how do I start talking about patches and pain management, yada, yada, yada. So, if you don't struggle with that, congratulations. But I'm going to assume everybody, even if you've got it down, would like to have some other really strong, what I would call opening gambits. It's like chess. How do you open up with a winning strategy? And I've said this on many trainings, but I want to say it again because it's so powerful. And it's simply this phrase, and practice it. Hey, Mary, let me tell you what happened to me. Now, it sounds pretty good. It's a little bit theatrical, but I've said it 100 million times, so it becomes a part of my DNA. Oh, Bill, let me tell you what happened to me. Now, I can use that in any setting. I can use it for income. I can use it for whatever. In fact, I was playing golf the other day, and after golf, we went in and looked at our scorecards, divided up the money, and someone started off in a Bitcoin conversation. Hey, you guys chasing Bitcoin? Have you seen what Bitcoin and this crypto's doing? Oh my God, And I'm thinking, what a great time to talk about an income stream from LifeWay. But if I didn't have these little DNA gambits, I wouldn't know. So when the question came up, have you guys taken a look at a Bitcoin, or are you investing in any crypto? I said, I've looked at it, but let me tell you what happened to me. And boy, people they don't know if you fell off a horse or if you got what happened, right? But let me tell you what happened to me. And then I have my story, which is always 20 seconds or less. And my story, well, I don't know about Bitcoin. Let me tell you what happened to me. A friend of mine introduced me to this young tech company out of Atlanta originally, and they had a patented product that's somewhat homeopathic, and the company has exploded. And everybody at the table said, what is it? Now, isn't that a great feeling when people are actually trying to pull the information out of you? Now, it could go the other way on personal challenges. Oh man, I've had a heck of a time sleeping. I've had this sore neck, and every time I lay on my pillow, I just can't sleep. Now, this can be third party. It doesn't have to be you. Now, I don't have any problem sleeping, but my wife did. So it's the same thing. So, whoa, talk about trouble sleeping. Let me tell you what happened to me. Does it sound familiar? Trouble sleeping. Let me tell you what happened to me. My wife had a horrible time, and she was on Ambien, which is that terrible narcotic drug toxin knockout pill. And I mean, she would sleepwalk and almost fell out a window. Well, what happened to me is a friend told us about this technique where nothing goes in your body, no drugs, no chemicals. It's just all natural. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee, and she's sleeping right through the night. So if you know of anyone who's got some sleeping challenges, let me know and I can turn them onto a website. Now, folks, that is the greatest way ever to open up the LifeWave conversation, be it on the money business side or on the personal challenge therapeutic side.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Chuck. I love hearing you talk about that because it really is such a simple way. And to your point, once you practice it, that's part of your DNA. And people are excited. They want to know what happened to you, right?
Exactly.
It makes it easy.
And Emily, excuse me, but in fact, let me tell you what happened to me. That when this is another thing that we used to do at our morning sessions, is we would role play. Okay, you just met me at a birthday party. How do you open up the LifeWave conversation? Blah, 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 blah. That's not good. Say, well, here's what you do. You say, wow, these kids are having, by the way, let me tell you what happened to me. And they don't know if you got hit by a bus getting over to the birthday party or, they don't know. But curiosity killed the cat. And then have just a 20-second, your experience or third party. Hey, let me tell you what happened to me. There was a guy that was on this website of a company that I become involved with that had a massive scar in his arm. And using one of these non-invasive, no drugs, no therapy, no surgery, the scar is literally diminishing. So you talk about a product that couldn't even be more healthy for your skincare. So if you know of anyone who's got some concerns, let me know and I can get them to a website. Just the conversation flows.
I love that. And I like how you're saying you can use that to share the product as well as the opportunity. Listening to you. What was that? Sorry.
And remember, It does not have to be your direct story. Hey, let me tell you what happened to me. A friend of mine was in a motorcycle accident. So you can, in other words, you can leverage off of the written testimonials within the website. Hey, let me tell you what happened to me. I went on this website of a young company that I really enjoyed getting involved with. And I read this testimonial, which really hit home. So, there's so much leverage you can do with that kind of a very honest, curiosity building, opening gambit.
I love that. I love that. It does take some of that scary part out, right? Especially if you practice and you get used to sharing either your story or someone else's. I mean, people could even talk about your story, right? They say, I was listening to this guy on a webinar and he was sharing with me, how he's able to earn money while he's asleep, right? And what? How's that work, right? And so you can really play it in there. So anyway, but Chuck, thank you so much for sharing how you teach the comp plan, how you work with your team so they understand how to explain the comp plan. And I really appreciate your approach in helping us to understand how powerful and how simple this plan really is. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I took a lot of notes like usual. And so I hope that you were able to get a little bit more insight in how you can share this amazing opportunity with others and learn from Chuck yourself on the power of this plan. We look forward to seeing you next week for our LifeWave Connect call. It will be really great. We have Robin Mascari coming on talking about teams and how to support your teams and how to work within your teams, our business side of our LifeWave Connect. So we look forward to seeing you there. And thanks again, Chuck. We really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your knowledge with us.
If you want to share my email with anybody who maybe has a question that they'd like to email me, I can, certainly give you a response. And again, it'll be what I do. It's not theory. It's what we do in the field that works. And those are the kind of responses that you'll get. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great day and we'll do it again.
Thanks again. Bye-bye now. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye.